Hello and welcome, dear colleagues. Thank you so much for joining. We are thrilled to welcome to our Alumni Connect webinar series, which will last for about an hour. So my name is Nodra from Uzbekistan, one of the community leader, and I will be your host for this session today. I'm not alone today. So the Yerkin Abduraimov is from Kazakhstan. He will be moderating for our session, um, and we will issue the certificate for the participation of this webinar. Once you fill the form, you will get the certificate. The form will be sent at the end of the session. So please keep your questions coming as we go along. We will do our best to answer as many as we can. Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder to keep your microphones muted unless invited to speak, and feel free to use the chat box to engage and interact with others. Thank you. So now today's agenda is as follows. So there will be the introduction, then about the presenter and the Q&A session, and some announcements about upcoming webinars. So thank you. Let me introduce our presenter. Meet Saparnepes Atabayev from Turkmenistan. Saparnepes Atabayev is a highly accomplished educator from Turkmenistan with numerous national and international achievements. In 2021, he was recognized as the best teacher of Turkmenistan, winning first place in the state round, and also received the Youth Prize of Turkmenistan in 2024. He was named the best class teacher of Turkmenistan and later honored as the best teacher of the CIS by the Bilim Orkaneti organization in Kazakhstan. As an open program alumni, he in professional development with Arizona State University. Saparnepes is an active member of the Open Community of Practice. He also successfully completed the C5+1 ED program in Phase 2 in Almaty, Kazakhstan, organized by World Learning TESOL and ECAST. Welcome, Saparnepes. The floor is yours. I'm going to host.
Hello everyone. Good evening. It's a very good morning here, when I'm here. First of all, can you hear me well? Can you see the screen? So
Yes,
okay,
you can
wonderful. Let's begin.
share.
So I want to start with a small apology. Yesterday we had planned to this the webinar and I couldn't make it. And I'm truly sorry about that. And I know some of you had already set aside that time, had already told your families that not now I have a webinar, and then it didn't happen. I apologize sincerely. Thank you for your patience and thank you for showing up tonight. And that says a lot about who you are. Now, where am I speaking to you from tonight? I'm speaking to you from the state of Illinois, in the heart of the United States. You may know that it's the home of Chicago, one of the most beautiful and energetic cities in the world. And Illinois sits right in the middle of America. They call it the land of Lincoln, and named after the Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States, who lived and began his career here. It's a place of history, of great universities, and why I'm here? Why am I here? Because I'm currently a Fulbright student, Fulbright Foreign Student Program student. For those who may not know, the Fulbright program is one of the most prestigious academic exchange programs in the world, sponsored by the U.S. State Department, and brings together educators, researchers, and leaders from across the world to learn from each other and to grow and to carry that growth back home. And being here in Illinois as a Fulbright student has reminded me that every single day why I became a teacher, being surrounded by ideas and by passionate educators, by different, ways of thinking of learning. It has deepened everything that I want to share with you tonight. And tonight I want to share some of that with you, teacher to teacher, colleague to colleague. So let's begin. Can you like
Yes, you
share
can
the
share.
screen? Okay, um,
Is it working?
I'm just I don't know how to do it as a background content. Sure. Okay.
There is
Submit.
a share button.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Sorry. Is it okay right now?
Yes, is it visible? I think the cover page.
Okay, tonight's topic is assessment for learning, or what we also call formative assessment. And now I know what some of you might be thinking, assessment, again, we just finished exams. Please, Saparnepes, not more assessments talk. I understand, I really do, but I want to make you a promise right now at the very beginning. What I'm going to share with you tonight is not about more tests. It is not about more grades. It is not about more pressure on you and your students. It's about something completely different. It's about, finally, knowing what is happening inside your students' minds while you are while you are teaching. Um, not after, not on Friday, what you are teaching. That changes everything. And by the end of tonight, I think you will agree. So before we go any further, let me be completely transparent with you about what this session is and what is not. This session is a practical guide. Everything I share tonight, you can use tomorrow in your classroom with 18, 24 students with no technology, with no textbook or no new curriculum. I promise you that. This session is an honest conversation between the teachers who know that what Central Asian classrooms really look like, and the large classes, the curriculum pressure, the students who nod and smile even when they're completely lost. And I know that classroom. I taught in it. This session is not about the theory lecture. I'm not going to put up complicated diagrams or the research papers that you did not come here for that, and frankly, neither did I. And this session is not advice for someone who has never stood in front of like 24 students on a cold Tuesday morning, wondering if anyone understood the last 20 minutes of the class. I have been that teacher and I was. So, what exactly assessment for learning? Simply this. It is using information from your students and during your lesson to teach them better. And right now, not next Friday, not tomorrow, not after the exam, right now, in the moment where there is still time to help the students. That's it. That's the whole idea. Everything else tonight is just showing you how. So, dear colleagues, in the next slide, you know, I have a small confession to make. I know your holidays just started. The school year is finally over. The registers are submitted and the grades are done. The last thing you want is someone sending you back to the classroom in your mind tonight. So I am going to be gentle, I promise, and I just have four questions. As you see here, um, four, that is all, and there are no right or wrong answers. No grades, no red pen, no see me after the class. Question one, as you see here, think back. When did you last find out that a student was completely lost, and only after you had already moved on to the next unit? When did you discover the confusion too late? And the question two is, how many students do you actually hear from in a typical lesson? Five or eight, or out of many, 30, 24, 18? So the question three, when you ask, does everyone or did everyone understand? Honestly, do you actually believe the answer you get when the 30 students, when they're 18 or 24 students nod? And the question four is, think of one quiet student right now and one who never raises their hand, her or his hand. Do you actually know what they are thinking during your lesson? Anyone has these kind of students? I think you have, because this is really happening in the language classes. And if any of those questions made you smile a little uncomfortably, and welcome, you are in the right place. And I promise you, no homework at the end. So, in my experience, and can you imagine a student? Let me tell you about
Yeah,
yeah, the
we
net.
have some responses. The the 15, 16, 40 students above, and the 20, 15, 20, and the 10 and 15 students.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 20, 15, 20. Yeah. Yeah, it can differ according to the schools, prestige or the language centers, or yeah, this is really happening, you know. And today, what I'm going to talk is like, I think it will help you, even it's not fully, but I can promise you that it will help you to, maybe you already have using these techniques. So let's dive deep. So, um, So let me tell you about Jeanette. Jeanette sits in a row three. She's polite, she's never late, and she never causes any trouble, and she never ever raises her hand. And last Friday, let's imagine like last Friday, she scored 6 out of 20 on your grammar test, and you wrote "see me" in red pen at the top of her paper, and she never came, and the week moved on. Now, was Janet lazy? You know, was she unmotivated? Was she not trying? Or was the problem something else entirely? And was the problem that you only found out she was struggling on Friday after the unit was finished? After the next topic had already started, after the window to help her had already closed. And Jeanette is not alone, is she? Yeah. Think, imagine like you finish the present perfect unit and you move to past simple a week later, and they are confusing both, and you had no warning signs, none. And you ask, does anyone or everyone understand? Like 18 or 20, heads not 20, 10 of them are, lying because not because they are dishonest, but because they do not want to disappoint you, or they think that it's, better to end they just some students are waiting to end of to that let them finish class, the class finish. And because in our culture, saying that I don't understand can feel like saying you taught badly, or we can accept that, oh, I couldn't teach this, my lessons were like boring or something like that. So they nod and they fall further behind. So at the same for students answer every question, like we have the students all the time, and you have, 24, 18, like as you mentioned, 28, 14 and above students in the class. They are, those minds are completely invisible to you. Just four students are dominant. Your best student, the one who explains everything perfectly to classmates in the corridor, also can freezes completely on tests. So these are not behavior problems, and these are not motivation problems. These are information problems. You do not have enough information about what is happening inside your students' heads, while you still have time to something about it. So the formative assessment is how you get that information.
Cambiar el esquema mismo. La asimilación es el proceso cognitivo de hacer que la nueva información encaje con tu comprensión actual del mundo.
Mute yourself, please.
Funciona si la nueva información se acerca a lo que ya sabemos. Para procesar la nueva información,
So now, as you see, there are two ways to use assessment. Now let me explain exactly what formative assessment is by showing you what is not. There are two ways to use assessment and two completely different philosophies. And the first is assessment of learning. This is what most of us, grew up with. And the end of unit test, the report card grade, you teach for 3 weeks, and you give a test on Friday, you mark it over the weekend, you hand it back on Monday, and the student looks at their score, maybe they feel good, maybe they feel too bad, and then you move on. The unit is finished, the grade is recorded, and nothing can be changed. So assessment of learning is a verdict, let's say. It looks
Saparnepes, sorry. Naim John, please, could you please mute yourself? Thank you. So sorry, Saparnepes.
Okay, it's okay. So assessment of learning, for learning, let's say this happens during the lesson, not after it. It gives students and you a direction. Not you scored 14 out of 20, but here's what you understood. Here is what you missed, and here's exactly what to do next. Assessment for learning it should be a compass. Should be different from assessment of learning and assessment for learning. Assessment for learning is a compass. It looks forward. It guides the journey while the journey is still happening. Now here is something important for those of you who teach with a communicative language approach, is like a CLT. In CLT, we believe that language is learned through use, through real communication, through doing, not just studying. And a formative assessment is that philosophy in action. When students signal their confusion, when they write an exit ticket, when they give peer feedback, they are using language for a real purpose. They are communicating and they are learning through doing. assessment for learning and CLT are not two separate things. They are the same belief that learning happens in the moment and through real interaction, not just at the end of the test. So, in this slide are over the years, and my practice of formative assessment has come to rest of these 5 pillars, 5 things to do or I try to do in every single lesson, not perfectly, but consistently. The first pillar, as you see here, the sharing the learning target. Before anything else, students must know exactly what they are learning and why. Not today we just study adjectives, but I learned this tactic thanks to my instructors who you really taught me during the C5 ONE ed program in Almaty that you should have clear objectives, but uh, not today we just study adjectives, but by the end of this lesson you will be able to describe a person using at least 5 adjectives, and you will use this in your project presentation next week when students know the destination, and they can tell you when they are lost. When they don't know the destination, they just sit and wait. And the second pillar is checking understanding mid-lesson, not at the end, during. The most teachers ask any question at the very end of the lesson and then are surprised when students fail the test. By then, it is too late, and I check after every major explanation, not because I doubt my teaching, but because I respect my students, as you do, you also do, I know, and to find out it is really, actually landing on their mind. And the third pillar is forward feedback. There is a huge difference between feedback that looks backward. This is wrong. You get 12 out of 20. And the feedback that looks forward. Your verb tense is wrong here, but your argument is strong. But now fix the verb and this become excellent work. So one demotivates, demoralizes, and the other motivates. The difference is not kindness, it's the direction. You direct the student. And the fourth pillar is peer learning. And there is an old truth in education, and the student who explains it learns it twice. So when one student teaches another, they consolidate their own understanding. Peer learning is not a break from real learning, it is real learning. And while they're doing it, I walk around and listen, and because that is where I find out what they actually understand in their own words to each other. And the fifth pillar is student ownership. When a student can honestly say, I understand this part, but not this part, they have become an independent learner. They keep growing even when you are not in the classroom. But that honestly, it's the greatest things that teachers can achieve. So and the first technique, let's talk about the techniques. The technique first. Can I write the answers a little bit later? I see some
Yes,
questions
sure.
in the chat.
Yes, sure.
And the first technique for formative assessment techniques I use here is traffic light check-in. Here's how it works. And after you finish explaining, it's like let me show you the first technique, and I want you to notice something as I describe it, how simple it is, how completely available it is right now, and with nothing you need to buy or download or prepare. The traffic light check-in. Here's how it works. As you see it here, after you finish explaining a concept or after students complete their task, you pause and you ask students to signal their level of understanding. The green means I understand, I'm ready to move on. Yellow means I think I understand, but I have some doubts. And red means I do not understand, I need help before we continue. Students can use colored cards, colored sticky notes, or there's what I use the most often, just fingers, just 3 fingers for green, 2 fingers for yellow, one for red. It takes 20 seconds. It costs nothing. So now, what you see? If most students show green, move on. And if you see many yellows, you have to pause and rephrase, give more one example, try a different approach. And if you see reds, okay, that means stop and completely do not move forward. Find another way to explain to your class. I want to say something directly here. A teacher who sees red signals and continues anyway, okay, it's not a teaching. They are just performing. They are just going through the motions for an audience that has already stopped following. We owe our students more than that. So let me give you a real example from my ESP class, English for specific purposes. I was teaching business email writing to an economics group. After I finished explaining formal tone and register, and I asked for a traffic light. So 11 yellows, 4 reds, and out of 24, 18 students, nearly half the class was not ready. In the old system, I would have continued, and we would have moved in the next section. Those 15 students would have written their emails incorrectly. I would have marked them on Friday, and we would have all moved with a quite failure. So instead, I stopped and I wrote 2 emails on the board, one formal, one casual. I asked, which of these would you send to your boss? Which to your friend, and why? The room came alive, became alive. The students started arguing, pointing, laughing. Within 4 minutes, everyone understood what formal tone meant because they could see it, compare it, and discuss it with the real context. The Friday test would have told me nothing until it was too late, and the traffic light told me everything in 20 seconds. So the next technique that I'm using is, most of you guys, I know that you're using this one. It's one of the popular techniques in assessment. Exit tickets. So the second technique is, exit tickets, as I mentioned, and the idea is beautifully simple. In the last 3 to 5 minutes of class, before students leave, they answer one question on a small piece of paper, and they hand it to you on the way out. The paper is their ticket to exit the room. And you read them that evening, you sort them, you see clearly in your students' own handwriting who understood, who was partially there, who was completely lost. And then this is the part that changes everything. You begin the next lesson not with, okay, open your books, page 40. You begin with, yesterday I read your exit tickets and 3 of you asked the same question. Let's answer it together right now. So watch what happens to your student engagement when they realize what they write actually changed the next lesson. Watch how carefully they start writing. and watch how much more honestly they start admitting confusion, because they know you are actually reading, actually listening, actually responding. I rotate 3 prompts. The first, as you see here, today I understood, but I am still confused about. This is separate confidence from confusion in one sentence. The second, write one sentence using today's grammar and make it about your own life, not a sentence from the textbook and their sentence. Their life, their words, though. This tells, immediately whether they understood the role, whether they can apply it in a real context. The third, now, what question do you still have? This is the most powerful of all. The question students write then when they feel safe, when they, when they know there is no grade attached, and there are questions that reveal the deepest gaps and the most interesting thinking. So let me tell you about one of my students. Let's say Aman. We were working on a project-based teaching unit, and students were designing their dream school in English. And the exit ticket question was, write one problem your dream school solves in English. So Aman wrote like, my school have no heating in winter. That's a grammar error, you see, and obviously, but look at the content. Look at what this student just told me. He has a real problem and real experience, a real idea, and he is using English to express something that actually matters to him. The next class, I wrote his sentence anonymously on the board. We corrected it all together as a class. My school has, not have, no heating in winter. We discussed subject-verb agreement, not through a textbook exercise, but through Aman's sentence, his school, his life. He remembered that the grammar rule forever, have and has, and not because I drilled it into him, because I taught his grammar, his real words back to him. That is the communicative language teaching, and at its absolute best. The exit ticket made, it made it possible. The next technique that I'm going to share is 2 stars and learning journals. Here, like I am here like during this Fulbright pre-academic program, I am doing this community engagement program, and we have our own journals. The next technique is called 2 stars and a wish. And it is one of my favorites, and I really like this one when my instructors facilitated me this one, because it teaches students not just English but how to be thoughtful human beings. Here's how it works. Like, after students complete a piece of writing or a project or a short presentation, their partner reads it and gives exactly 3 responses, or their partner, 2 stars, 2 specific things that are genuinely strong. Like we can call it like a 1 help or 2 helps and 1 hinder. 2 stars, 2 specific things that are genuinely strong, and the 1 wish, 1 specific kind of suggestion for improvement, like a hinder. And now I emphasize the word specific, because a star is not a good job. A star is not, I liked it. A star says exactly what worked and exactly why. In my class, a student once gave this feedback to their partner. So star you used for the word however correctly, and it made your argument stronger. Star you example was from real life, and which made it very easy to understand. Wish is like, your conclusion repeats your introduction almost word for word, and can you add 1 new idea to close? Like, this kind of feedback appeared. That feedback is more useful than anything I could write with a red pen. Some students, they don't want to say this, the red pen on their papers, and this kind of feedback is like, am I audible? Like Parvina wrote, like I cannot hear.
You are audible, I think, because of her side.
Um, like this communicative language teaching is purest, form, students using English for a real, meaningful purpose. Now, learning journals, like 5 minutes once a week, students write 4 things, their goal for the week, what they achieved, what they still want to understand, and this one is the most important, and their English outside the classroom that week. The last question changed everything in my class. Bahar wrote, I watch Turkish series with English subtitles on like Netflix or like other, TV platforms. And I noticed the way Ghana instead of going. Is that correct? I brought video clips to the next class. We discussed formal versus informal spoken English. We talked about how language changes in different situations, and which is exactly what we teach in communicative approaches, engagement tripled, because the lesson came from their lives. From Bahar's curiosity, not from the page 40, like 44, 47. And the next, it's a true story. Let me just let me just share this one. Is like I want to tell you about Bakhtiar, one of my who became one of my favorite students after this. Like I want to tell you about Bakhtiar, the back row. The quiet student, test scores average, and participation close to zero. And if you asked me to describe in October, I would have said, nice boy, tries hard, and doesn't really engage. And I almost left it at that, and I had now like lots of students. The curriculum was moving fast. Oh, so, I saw someone with Rosetta. I think you raised your
Yeah.
hand.
Could you please, Rosetta, unmute yourself?
Good morning, everyone. How are
Good
we
morning.
today? Good
Yes,
morning,
thank
good
you.
night.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Sarpanis or Stepanos? Welcome.
Sapar, just call me Sapar.
Okay, right. So, I understand and I heard that you mentioned one of the quick method or technique is using a journal. Um, I created a format of impromptu techniques using formative assessment.
Mhm.
And in that context, I I named it personal curriculum. Now, is it
Oh,
safe to
wow.
say, yeah, is it safe to say that the personal curriculum can be both for teachers and students? And at the end of the unit lesson, both teachers and students, whether it's individual or by group, can share and exchange ideas within the teacher and the class. So that's an impromptu technique using formative assessment. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So how do you join that with um, the the context of yours of not using the term personal curriculum?
So, y- can you just repeat the question because I couldn't hear it very well.
Sure. So the personal curriculum, remember formative
Okay,
assessment.
you
So
created as you said that you
right.
created
So it's
okay,
impromptu,
curriculum.
right? It's
Okay.
impromptu, as of the opposite of summative assessment. where we normally assess those students and give them tests at the end of the month, the week, or per term. Now, is it safe to say that we can coincide personal curriculum on my side and the one that you give together and use it as an informal technique using formative assessment? Because remember, formative assessment, it's informal, it's impromptu, it's spot on, right? But you don't add those into the grades on the report. So can we use those two contexts and join it together?
Creating these journals, like as you said, if you, for example, if I were like, if I created my personal curriculum for my students, not from the book, not from the education board, maybe I would avoid some techniques of, these assessments because I built this one and I know how to approach my students. And maybe I will reduce some techniques. Maybe this journal, will not be necessary for me, but it's up to the students. You don't know. If you taught one group of students like 1 or 2 months, and you need to move to the next session, next season, and you create your own curriculum for those students. So this kind of assessments may not be needed in the future, because you already know you built this one, and these kind of journals, for example, if it will help you to use when you, for example, in my case, from my experience, because I'm not too experienced, and I would use it like for my, if for my students who I am teaching for the first time, and I would use that journals. Like if I teach for them the second term or the third term, maybe I would avoid this kind of in detailed assessment techniques, because you already know the elementary or from beginners. You can ask your students even in your language, can you just write to your journals so I can read it later. But in the elementary or in the pre-intermediate courses, you can know, because you built this, as you said, you built your own curriculum. You don't have any new students, and your students, their pace, which student is weak, which student is strong, and how you approach it. From my understandings like that.
Yes, absolutely. Because as you teach, as you know your students, so you build, right? You build
Yeah.
your assessment per child, per student. All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosetta.
You're welcome.
Let's go to the next one. Now, yeah, it's our reality. Yeah. So now I want to stop here and to be honest with you, because I know that as I describe these techniques, some of you are thinking, Saparnepes, this sounds wonderful, but you don't know my classroom, and you are right. And I don't know your specific classroom, but I know mine, and I taught now. I taught in Turkmenistan, so let me address our reality directly. Like at 18, 24 students, and one teacher, I hear you, but the traffic light, check takes 20 seconds for 40, or like, as you said, like 28 students. Every single one signals. You use the whole picture instantly. No projector, no internet, no technology. Good. You don't need any of it. And exit tickets need only paper and pen. And 2 stars and a wish needs only two students sitting next to each other as like a peer-to-peer. And learning journals needs one notebook, and traffic lights needs just fingers. Students who are afraid to be wrong, but this one is real and it takes time. Start with anonymous exit tickets. If we start with the anonymous exit tickets, no names, just thoughts, and the safety comes first and the confidence comes after, and it comes faster than we think. When students see that wrong answers genuinely lead to be the better teaching, not punishment. And as we as our instructors told us, in the first lesson, I still remember the day that my instructor in a teacher development program told us, the American teacher, the native speakers, we are sitting in front of the native speakers and native speaker, the facilitators, and we're just sitting, and they said, mistakes are okay. Mistakes are okay in my classroom. Don't you make mistakes. So, and this really helps to build the confidence for your students. And the next one is the curriculum pressure, no time. No time to stop and check. Here's the truth. Exit tickets save time. And catching confusion on Tuesday prevents reteaching the entire unit on Thursday. 3 minutes of checking now saves 3 hours of reteaching later. And parents who only care about grades, show them a learning journal. We can show them a learning journal, put it in their hands, say, look at your child's thinking. Look at how they reflect on their own learning. Look at the questions they are asking. That conversation changes everything. And the open program taught me that something I carry with me every single day. The best teachers are not the ones with the most resources. They are the ones who use what they have with intention. So the next, what can we do? What can we do? Like solutions. So what can you actually do starting tomorrow? Okay, not tomorrow, but the ones for who are teaching in the language centers, but still going to the summer schools. One thing, just one, okay? If you have 5 minutes at the end of your next lesson and end with an exit ticket, write one question on the board. What confused you today? And collect the papers, read them tonight. And it's very interesting to read your students' writings. You can pay attention at the same time, their voice, their inner voices, and their grammar too. And begin tomorrow's lesson with what you found. That's it. If your class is large, try the traffic light, as I said, and after your next main explanation, ask for 1 and 2 or 3 fingers. Like you don't need like colored papers too. 20 seconds, and you'll see your entire class as a picture. You will know immediately who is ready, who is not to the lesson. So if your students are afraid to be wrong, start small, anonymous exit tickets. Okay, if we have some young teachers, they can the experienced ones also know this technique. You can encourage the ones who are young, who has not ever tried this method, just try to anonymous tickets and no names, no grades, just their honest thoughts on paper. Build the safety first and everything else follows. And if you have no technology and you never needed it, and everything I have described tonight requires only what you already have in your classroom, just your voice, your voices, paper, and the pen. And if your curriculum is packed, and remember this, catching confusion early, it's really saves time, and you are not slowing down, by stopping to check. You are actually speeding up by preventing, the confusion that would force you to go back and reteach. It really saves time. And if you teach with a CLT or ESP or PBT, project-based teaching, these techniques were literally designed to your classroom, to our, And yeah, Bahar, yeah, the anonymous tick is very good. I tried lots of times because some students don't like, but I know my students' handwriting, and you have to encourage your students, like if you only do, in this classroom, a wrong answer is more useful than a silence. Every sound of every voice of students matters, and we have to say it loud. You have to mean it and watch what happens to the and yeah, I want to close with something I believe deeply in assessment. Assessment for learning is not a method. It's not a technique. It is not a strategy you implement, then forget. It's a belief, it's the belief that every student in your class, even Jeanette, sitting quietly in row three, who never, raises her hand, and even Bakhtiar in the back row, forming linguistic hypothesis, in silence, has something worth discovering. Every sound, every voice matters. It's a belief that your job as a teacher is not a sort students into good and bad, into strong and weak, into those who get it and who don't. We don't need it. Our job is your job is to find out what they know, what they learn from your lessons, and build from there, like that right moment. So the formative assessment is how you do that. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the Southern Illinois. Thank you for spending this evening with me. And thank you for caring enough to keep learning, even when your holidays have just started. And that is what makes you the kind teachers and your students are lucky to have. As Turkmen said, Kop and Rahmat, Spasiba, and thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm going to let's say I have I have some works to do, and I want to write my email here. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I can share some, and we can share our experience with together as an open RIC. Thanks Yerkin, thanks Nodra for organizing this event, for the teachers, for us. It was really nice to catch up with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Saparnepes, for the great presentation. We hope that that was the wonderful, the useful technique you shared. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your contribution. So if you have any questions,
yeah, we do have it. We do have questions. We do have questions. Let's
yes.
ask some of them. Thank you, Saparnepes. Thanks for the great presentation. We are really to have you today in our mutual community. It was such a great pleasure to hear you. Now we have some questions here and some comments. The first question was from Usmanova Rukhshana. How does share the target help students learn better?
What was the question? How does
the share the target help students learn better? I think it's a technique. It was a technique, yes, from you. Share the target.
Just say, who was it? I remember, yeah, the shared target.
Yeah, the first one. The first one.
Yeah. It is better, to share your target, for example, at the end, before you start the lesson, okay? Let's say students, today we are going to teach present simple or present continuous. I think it's like a teacher-based teaching. If we say that the students today we are going to learn where can we use this present simple or present continuous, it will lead them, to think something they can imagine where they can use it. I think, share your target, beforehand the lesson, before you start explaining. I think it's going to be very, fruitful.
Okay, thank you, Saparnepes. Then there is a comment from Aijan, and thank you so much for the detailed lecture. Is your presentation available to us, Saparnepes?
Yeah, I can share it.
Yeah, yes, please.
No problem.
We will share the presentation with you, dear Aijan, and dear participants. Next question is from Araceli Flores, one of our global coordinators. How can you create a reflective environment for university students who are not motivated for learning?
Oh,
yeah, if you have any experience with university students.
Yeah, I have never taught the university students. In my experience, I only focused on the secondary school students and the language centers for learning. But I had chance to, to teach some doctors, like our future doctors who are learning the ESP classes, like oil and gas students. I had some individual students, but they were motivated. But if we convert what we are learning today as an open Central Asia RIC together, so if we have some teachers who are studying the ESP at the universities, maybe we can rely on them. So we can. Personally, I don't have any experience, but yeah, this is a very tricky. The problem is we have to first find.
Yeah, it's okay. You can skip it. You can skip it. If any,
I'll share through the email or this kind. I need to do some research. I need to.
Yeah, sure. Saparnepes is following us on Facebook page, on Instagram. If you have any questions,
okay.
of course,
I will chat.
Yeah, he will be happy to answer your questions there. A comment from Bahar, I agree, because your students better. That's why it's okay to skip some tasks from curriculums. That's what good teachers does. Parvina, it often happens on my teaching practice where my students think that there are a lot of extra tenses and useless grammar rules. Okay. From Rosetta, absolutely correct. Saparnepes becoming an open alumni has certainly been a super blessings in both my academic and professional credibility. That's great, Rosetta. From Bahar, again, anonymous ticket is good for getting a true result. Absolutely. From Araceli Flores, the traffic light metaphor is great. And a lot of appreciations to your address, Saparnepes. Thank you. A lot of appreciation from our participants.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Saparnepes, for this great question. Let's say end of our Q&A session. It's over to you, Nadra. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Yerken, for helping me and facilitating Q&A session. So I'm going to share my screen. Saparnepes, could you please stop sharing?
Let me just say, because I'm not very good at this. Where is it? Stop share. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
While Nadra is sharing her screen, please complete the form to apply for the certificate. It will be available. The link will be available for 30 minutes after the session ends.
Thank you so much, Saparnepes, for the great answers for our participants. So I'm going to share some quick announcements about the upcoming webinars. So the next Open Central Asia Guest Expert series there will be on Tuesday, 2nd of June at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. Will be shared by Gulnaz Namazova from Turkmenistan on the topic of evidence-based writing for young learners. Next session will be Open Globe Insights on the topic Enhancing Teaching Practice Throughout the Personalized Learning by Adapting AI Platforms by Hader Fikri from Egypt on the 5th of June at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. The next webinar will be Open Central Asia Regional Interest Community Voice of Leadership series on the topic of motivation in the ESP classroom by Mongia El Abed from Tunisia. The session will be on 9th of June on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. And the next one, Cascade Learning Series, on the topic of American English Live webinar series, Integrating Cultures Through Clip Chat and Picture Talk by Takmina Salieva. And will be the June 9th at 7 p.m. Tashkent time.
Yeah, if you have noticed, dear participants, we will have two webinars on June 9th. So,
yes.
but the time is different. One is 5 p.m. The next is 7 p.m. So you will have 1 hour in the middle. So to have a rest.
Yes, sure. And the next one webinar will be the special webinar series on the topic Cascading New Knowledge Through Multiple Perspectives by Gulbahar Umarbekova from Kazakhstan. The session will be June 12th at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. The Celebrating American 250 series, on the topic Continent Within a Country by Dr. Nurlana Imanova from Azerbaijan. The session will be on June 16th at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. And the American English Live webinar series will be yes, it will be the viewing party on the topic Not Just Role Plays, Drama and Summer Camp Games for Language Teachers, June 17th at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. Yes, the next Open Central Asia Alumni Connect webinar series on the topic Differentiated Instruction in Mixed Ability Classroom by Farzana Khavasova from Uzbekistan on the June 19th at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. And the next one, the Celebrating America 250 series, The Three Pillars of Liberty and Diplomacy, and 1776 and 2026 by Rosetta Bhawandin. She is one of our global coordinator. She's from Guyana. The session will be the June 22nd at 6 p.m. Tashkent time. The last session will be the Voice of Leadership series on the topic Leadership that Promotes Professional Growth and Builds ELT Communities by Dr. Nurlana Imanova from Azerbaijan. The session will be 26th of June at 5 p.m. Tashkent time. And you can join our social media, Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Instagram page, and you will get more about the further information and upcoming webinar series. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Now, as you have noticed it, well, this June will be our last month. So then we will go on vacation. Now you see we have a lot of webinars in 1 month, about 10 events. So
Yes,
we are trying to make the most of June.
because we have no any classes, so that's why they can enjoy. They will enjoy, we hope.
Yes, yeah. Our last month, so we will go on vacation. Then we won't have any webinars in July and August. We will meet you on our conference and in September.
Yes, well, thank you so much for joining and being with us today. We really appreciate your active participation. And this is not the last webinar of our Central Asia Regional Interest Community. And we will continue with productive webinars for our amazing colleagues. Stay tuned. Goodbye. See you upcoming webinars.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much once again,
So much,
Saparnepes, for your great contribution to our mutual community.